If you already know how to do my sew-alongs and videos, and if you'll be kind enough to watch at least one ad should it appear, which enables me to keep bringing you free content, feel free to skip ahead to go straight to the pattern spotlight. Skip ahead to the 3-minute 25-second mark. Here's a little bit about how I do my Sew With Me sew-alongs.
Techniques, I'm going to put it on the website and I will reference it in the sew-along itself. So for example, we're working on a pair of pants that has a fly front. So when we get to that portion in the sew-along, I'll do a little bit of it, in instructions in the sew-along itself, but then I'm going to refer you over to the website to go ahead and look at that video, that particular video, look it over, study it, do your own sample if you want, because I'm big on that technique binder. So go ahead and and do that. And then once you get a good hang of what that technique is, then come back onto the sew-along itself and do that particular technique with the sew-along. So that way we both kind of benefit. You still get the instruction of the actual sew-along, step by step of how to do a particular thing. But it's less editing on my part because, like I said, I'll mention it in the sew-along itself, but then I'll refer you over to the website to actually find that particular technique and go ahead, review it, look at it. And then once you master it or enough to where even you sew along, at the same time and install it in that particular sew-along that you're doing at that time. So hopefully that will be okay for you, because I think I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank everyone for watching my videos. I love to upload the videos. I love to share my knowledge. And I'm pretty sure that you guys love to get free content. So in order for me to keep uploading free content, I just need you to do some simple things for me, some very simple things. The first thing is just to hit the subscribe button. So just make sure that you hit that. So you're subscribed to my channel, hit the notification bell so when I upload a new video, you don't miss out and you get to see it. And then also, if there's an ad on my videos, they're typically anywhere from 10 seconds to maybe up to 2 minutes. Just go ahead and either watch it or do something else you want to do in those in that particular time that ad is running. So use the restroom, go get something to drink or something like that. Because that way, if you let that ad run, I benefit from YouTube, and that way I can still keep creating content and uploading it for free. Okay. Enough of that boring stuff. Back to the sew-along. Please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any uploads. Thanks again and keep on watching. All right, so back from the sewing machine, attaching the facing to the garments. So basically right side together, facing, right? And then I did the understitching. Okay, and so if you look at it, this side is the facing, all right, and that is the seam allowance, right? So as you can see, stitch close to the seam line, which attached the facing to the garment. So stitch close to that seam line, but on the facing side, ensuring to catch the seam allowance on the underside. Okay, so that is stay stitching. Now, before I did the stay stitching, I did go in and clip the seam allowance, which allowed it to open. Okay, let's see, better one. So you can see allowed it to open. So it's closed, so allowed it to open. So as you sewed your stay stitching, it allowed it to expand, so it would lay flat as you sew. All right, so now I'm going to go in and cut off the excess seam allowance, okay? So I don't do that before. Some people do it beforehand. So some people do it beforehand, before they do stay stitching. I don't know why. Sorry, I just don't know why. It's just easier to catch it. As long as you make the clips in it before you stay stitching, it does the same thing. It opens up, but gives you more to catch versus if you trim it beforehand. So now I'm just going to trim that by half all the way around to get rid of the bulk. Now, one thing I did realize with this one, and you have to, I guess, see with yours, your fabric is, my fabric frays a whole bunch. So, you know, it was probably a better idea to finish these edges, honestly, and don't cut into it because it may fray. So what I decided to do to you know, help with that fraying is do an edge stitch from the right side along the neckline. And what that does is that will encase the these raw edges of these seam allowances. So even if it frays, you know, you won't be able to see it because the edge stitching has prevented it. So what I mean by now, so, you know, from here, what you would do is turn your facing to the right, to the inside, sorry, to the inside. And then you just flip it right side out, the garment itself. All right, and flip your facing to the inside. You want to make sure that the facing where you stay stitched is on the inside, and a little bit of the garment, right side of the garment, you can see it from the inside. It's hard to kind of tell with my busy fabric here, but you just want it to roll so that way your finished edge will look like that. So what you're going to do is give this a good press. And typically, you know, you don't do anything else besides giving it a press, but my seam allowance here, my fabric frays, what I'm going to do is from the right side, after I give it a press, I'm going to edge stitch about 1/8 away from the edge all the way around, and that secures the facing to the garment, but for my purposes encloses that raw edge of the seam allowance so it won't fray on me. So go ahead and turn your facing to the inside, making sure that you have a clean finish on the outside. Give it a good press. Close of it's about 1/8 of an inch away. All right, so let's move on to number, for me, because I'm doing view B, it's 23. So you're gonna need pattern piece number 9, okay, which is the sleeve. So because we're going to be gathering this, you know, just to have a clean finish, I would suggest that you go ahead and finish that split off here, okay, however you see fit, zigzag or serge. So I went ahead and did that, and then you're going to gather between the small notches, okay. So I'm going to gather this part up, or I'm sorry, you're going to sew 2 rows of gathering stitches, okay, and then we're going to use that to gather that up when we inset the sleeve. All right, so once you do that, then you're going to machine base the dart in place. So you're going to machine base it. Don't do a regular permanent stitch. You're going to machine base it. So you're going to fold it together, your dart, and you're just going to sew it like a regular dart. Okay.
And remember to leave long threads at the end because you will be using that to gather it. And then once you machine baste it, you're going to gather it up so that that length is about 3 inches. Okay, once you do that, then you're going to sew your underarm seams together. So it'll be right sides facing, and you're going to sew that together at your 5/8. And then you're going to make your narrow hem, and it's 5/8 of an inch narrow hem. Typically what I do, especially because this is such a lightweight fabric and I don't want to create a lot of bulk that would change the flow of it, what I would do typically is just serge the bottom, you know, of the hem, serge it, and then I'll fold it up that 5/8 and then stitch close to where the basting stitch is, you know, not the basting, I'm sorry, where the serge stitch is. That way, and that's called a single fold hem instead of a double fold, because a double fold would be here, you know, and then here. But that creates a lot of bulk, especially with the lightweight fabric. So I would just do a single fold, serging the raw edge, and then sew close to that raw edge. Okay, so that covers steps 23 through 27. So go ahead and do that and come back. All right, so coming back from the sewing machine and finishing up our sleeve here. So I did gathering, I only did one. It's best to do 2 rows, okay, but I only did one because it's such a lightweight fabric. It's easy to gather up, so I only did one. You know, already had finished off that dart opening and just ran some gathering stitches and gathered it up to about 3 inches. All right, did that and then finished off the underarm seam there. Sewed it and then serged it, and then around the hem, sleeve hem, I just went ahead and serged it, and I'll do, you know, a single fold here. So it'll be either 1/2 inch or 5/8. I want to try it on. So I'm not going to do the hem right now. I want to put the sleeve in the shirt to see exactly where it's going to fall on my arm, to see whether or not I want, you know, it could just be 1/4 inch, you know, just depending. So it could be 1/4, could be 1/2 inch, could be 5/8 of an inch. So just depending. But that is what it looks like from the inside. And basically this is what it looks like from the outside. Let's see if I can show you kind of, it's very pretty. With that little gathered part right there. See if you can see how it hangs. Again, that was steps 23 to 27 minus the actual finishing off the hem. We're going to do that later. All right, so we are going to now move to 34. I didn't mark it. 34. Basically, you just insetting the sleeve there. And so, if you do not know how to do that already, well, it doesn't tell you, does it tell you to do the side? I don't know, I'm reading because I haven't, oh, sorry. Back at number 10, I just thought it said the shoulders, but it also said the side seam. So we got to go ahead and do the side seam. Because I was like, how are we going to insert? It's already in a round. How are we going to do without the side seams being done? But it's gone back to number 10. It does say to do the side seams there. So we're going to go ahead and do the side seams on your bodice. If you haven't already done so, you probably already did it based on if you was following these directions. And then go ahead and finish that off. And then we're going to inset this sleeve. And I'll come back and show you, you know, a little bit of how to inset it. But I do have a full video on how to inset a sleeve on the YouTube website. All right, so
that is number 34 that we're going to be working on. All right, so we are moving on to step 34, which is insetting the sleeve here. Okay, so first things first, you have to orientate to make sure you have the right sleeve to the right side. I already did one sleeve here that's already attached. But the way you do it is just have your garment right side up facing you, and then, you know, you're looking at the front side of the garment. And so you just match up the sleeve to the side as it would be worn. All right, so this is looking as it will be worn, right? So that's what the sleeve will look like. And as long as this top piece is the front, and you can tell that because it has one, where we at? There you go, one right here, one slash instead of two. One is the front, two sorry, I keep saying I'm trying to think of the word, is the back. So so the way that I start the process of inserting my sleeve is keep the orientation the way it's supposed to be, and I'm going to match the underarm seam of the sleeve to the side seam of the garment, right? Still right sides together. And typically what I do, I just put the sleeve so that it's facing me, but it's still right sides together, right? All right, so put the undersleeve, underarm seam to the side seam, right sides together. I haven't flipped anything out or nothing like that. So I think this is just a simpler method to insert your sleeve. So like, what do you flip? What do you, we still gonna flip, but we just don't flip right now. Then you're gonna have a notch, you know, on your bodice and a notch on your sleeve. So match those up. Okay. And then you can put a pin in between. It's typically what I do. And then we're gonna go to the other side, which this is the back. You should see and find another notch, which would be your two. Okay, your two notches there, because that resembles the back, represents the back. So you match those up. You pin again. We still have not flipped anything. Okay, but the flipping is coming. Alrighty, now, so I'm looking at the sleeve. The garment is over here. The bodice is over here. Okay. This is the sleeve. So all I'm going to do is flip. I'm going to hold the sleeve at the cap. You know, you should have a dot there or a notch. So I'm just holding it. I'm looking at the right side, right? I'm going to take the bodice piece. This is the shoulder seam. Shoulder seam here, right? And I'm going to take the shoulder seam and I'm just going to flip it so that now it'll be right side to right side. Okay, all I'm doing is flipping the top bodice over to my sleeve so that it's right side to right side. And of course you're lining up the top here. So that was the flip, okay? So point, you're going to line up any notches you have for the, any notches you have for the top of the sleeve and the shoulder seam. All right, and you're gonna pin. All righty, now you are just going to, you should have a notch on your sleeve, notch on your bodice, and the notches should be at this point on your sleeve where you started or ended your basting stitches, okay? And then you should have a notch on your bodice to correspond to that. So you put that there, and you pin. And then pin in between. And this should be relatively flat at this point. No easing to do. All right, and then you go to the other end of where you started your gathering stitches. All right, and then you should have a notch on your bodice, and you just match those up. Pin. And pin as much as you need to pin, okay? That probably wasn't right. Skittles, seriously? I'm sorry. Talking to my dog here. I think that notch was a little off. All right, so and this is a gathered sleeve, meaning at the cap, you're gonna have puckers and things of that nature. That's a design feature, so don't worry, it's not supposed to be basically flat at the top. There is gathers. Oopsie. Alrighty, now, if you look at it, this is the shoulder seam, okay? And this is the back side of your gathering stitches. From here to the, and here is the front side of your gathering. So you see, you have space, right? So all you do is pull up on your gathering stitches, one section at a time. You got a front section and you have a back section. The middle at your shoulder should be already secured with a pin, okay? So you're just pulling up your gathering until it matches that one particular section. Right now I'm working on the front. Okay, don't worry about if your gathers are even at this point. We just want it to match up. We can just disperse the gathers later. All right, so once you're happy that the gathers and your bodice are matching, you know, so that they're even, remember we will disperse the gathers later. You want to tie that off. I don't think I'll put my inside in here. I'm gonna find the other one, the other string. There we go. And you want to tie off your gathers so they don't move or go anywhere. All right, and where's my, I don't have my scissors, but you want to clip that off so that it's not hanging. I don't have my scissors close. Do the same thing for the other section. This section is my back. So once you have it to where you want it, right, you can disperse the gathers as you see fit. And then once you're happy with it, and then just go ahead and pin. Pin it in place. All right, disperse the gathers how you see fit. I'm working on the front section now. That's fine. And then pin. All righty. So you should have a sleeve with a lot of pins in it, right? All right, so how you sew this. Now, if you look at it, you can, one side up, looking at it will be your bodice. If you go to the inside of the garment, on the side where basically you can see the gathers, right? That's your sleeve. On the inside, that's your sleeve. So I find it easy now, I used to didn't, but I find it easier now to sew from the inside, looking
at your sleeve, okay? So you'll put your sleeve like this under the presser foot on the inside, and you're going to be sewing from this inside, basically looking at the gathers, okay? Meaning you're looking at the sleeve portion. Now, what you want to do is, as you sew, you want to check the underside to make sure that that's flat. That's the most important part, because looking at from the inside, how you're sewing over gather. So that's not going to be flat because it's gathers, right? So what you need to do is, as you sew, you got to lift up and make sure that the underside where you're sewing, where the needle is going in, is flat. You know, if it's not, push stuff down, maneuver, you know, do whatever you have to do to make sure that that portion is flat. All right, so you're going to sew, and what I like to do is start at the underseam. Okay, so really down here. So I'll be sewing like this. This is where I start from, the underseam, which is mostly the flat part. Looking on the sleeve, okay, on the inside. Sewing at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then once you do that, you can trim it if you like down to 1/4 inch. And then you want to finish the raw edges how you see fit, whether it is a zigzag or serge, okay? Once you do that, come back. All right, so back from the sewing machine and insetting the sleeve here. So as you can see, you want the gathers to be, let me see if I can really accentuate, there you go. The gathers to be along the cap, okay, here, but then every place else shouldn't have any puckers, gathers, or pleats. I mean, if you have a huge one, you can take it out, but if they're small, you know, that's fine. Leave it in there. It'll be it'll come with practice, but that's what you want, basically, to look like that, with no pleats, gathers, or anything except along this cap. As you can see, it looks very pretty. And then you can see here is the little gather on the sleeve. And I did try it on. I'll show you the inside. I did try it on, and this is the finished. So that's the way your inside should look, with serging or zigzagging. So I did try it on, and instead of doing a 5/8, instead of doing a 5/8 hem allowance, I'm only going to do a 1/2 inch because I want to keep most of the length there. But it is a shorter sleeve. So at this point, you're basically done, I want to say. You have to do, so that was 34, right? So moving on to 36. 36 is just telling you to take up the front V drawstring as much as you like, and then tie that off with a bow. 37 through 39. 37 through 39 is making the tie that goes around the waistline, and that's the same exactly how you did the drawstring for the V. All right, so I'm not going to go back over that. It's exactly the same. The only difference is you are going to at the shorter end, because it's 2 pieces, you're just going to you're going to sew 5/8 to secure that, so you can make one long piece. And that's steps 37, just sewing that small, let's see if I can get it so you can see it, this small portion right here, the short end of the tie, so that at 5/8, so when you open it, you have one long piece. Then after you have that one long piece, you basically just follow your steps like you did for your front tie there. All right, so number 40 is making thread loops at the side seam so your tie can go around. I don't make thread loops. I really don't know how to make thread loops. It does tell you make thread loops at side seams. Oh, it doesn't tell you.
large enough for a tie to pass through. I would just do just like you did. You can either do just like you did your ties. Okay, so just take some more fabric and just like you did your ties, and then attach those to the side seams, you know, giving it enough room so the tie will go through, the belt tie will go through. So it'll basically look like that, and you'll sew it to your side seams. Okay, so that's how I would handle that one. And then you'll do your hem, whatever hem that you're going to do. Like I said, I'm going to do mine at a 1/2 inch, both along my sleeve and at the bottom. And again, both the sleeve and the bottom will be single fold hems, okay, not double folds. And once you do that, you are all done with this top. Okay, like I said, I'm going to do a casing on the inside, but that's not part of, you know, this instruction. That's just me personal. So okay, so for those of you that want to do the casing, and I just decided to show you how I did it. So basically, this is the drawstring, what do they call it, piece number 11, so you can make your drawstring to go around the waist. All right, so all I did basically was take, so this basic is in the middle, that line is the fold line. So I just took one side of that and folded it to that fold line, okay, just to make it a little bit shorter. And so this becomes my casing. And I just cut out, you know, another 2 pieces, you know, just like you did for the drawstring. Sorry about my dog, people. So I just got out another 2 pieces, all right, and attached it at the short side, just like you did your drawstring. Okay, so you have one long piece. And most definitely, I'm not going to use all of this, but you know, more is better than being shorter. So what I did was I finished both long ends with serging, and then I just folded that serged part under and basically stitched in the middle. Okay, and I did that at a basting of 4.0, so not a real true basting of 5.0, but you know, I did 4.0 because I didn't need it to be the shorter stitches or permanent stitches, because I will be stitching this to the bodice. So this is what your casing will look like. Now also, where I you know, stitched the ends together, the short ends together, I did go ahead and do another row, you know, on that seam allowance, so that when I put the casing through, it doesn't get stuck. You know, that's optional, but as you can see here, this is the original seam here, and then I just put another row to catch the seam allowance, so when I put the drawstring through, it doesn't catch it, because that can be annoying. All right, so, and then of course I did my drawstring, turned it right side out, and you know, that is my drawstring. Okay, so if you can see the size of them both, it should be no problem fitting the drawstring through. Okay. Alrighty, so those are those 2 parts. So now what you need to do is turn it to the inside, your garment to the inside. And it's just about a placement here. You can be more precise with it, you know, but because this will be drawed up, you know, I'm not gonna be too precise. So, you know, you want it straight, obviously. And so I want the ends to be along the back. All right. And all right, these are my 2 buttonholes right here. And you just want to make sure that you place it over that buttonholes. And then when you get, you know, when you push it out to the side, you just want to make it as straight as possible. Most definitely you can get a ruler, you know, helps with the process. My dog is crazy. All right, so
Just making sure that it's centered. That's where I want it to be over. I'll bring down some right there. And all I'm doing is lining it to the top of the ruler that I have here, and make sure that the perpendicular line is on this seam line, so that way I know it's straight. And I'm just pinning. Right now I'm pinning through all layers just because it's just easier. But I'll come back and put it just through one layer. And you want it so the right side of the casing is looking at you, obviously. And so now, so I know where this back is, I'll put a pin at the top and a pin at the bottom right here. Flip it over. I see my two pins here, and I know that's where that casing should be at along the back. Should be right in between those two. I'll pull them up, and there we go, right there. Alrighty. All right, so I can show you how to finish this off. What you're going to do is basically take up to where, you know, everything will be flat. So you bring both pieces together, you know, and take them up to where it'll be flat. All right. And so this is the seam right here that you're going to sew right here. All right, so, and then what you want to do is when you sew it, you want to put it right sides together. Okay, so you know that this will be your seam, right where my fingers are. You're going to make that a seam, but when you sew it, you're going to sew it so that it's right sides together. All right, so that way it'll end up laying flat like that. Okay, once you do that, then you're going to go back, and where you did your top stitching at, you're just going to go and top stitch all the way around. You can do it at a 3, you know, that's what typically I do top stitching at. Oh, let me go back. Where you basted your edges along your casing, now you're going to go and top stitch, and I do my top stitching at 3.0. So you're going to do the top stitch and the bottom top stitch all the way around. And then when you finish that, all you're going to do is put your drawstring through your 2 buttonholes in the front. So you put it through one buttonhole, you know, and maneuver it all the way around until it comes out the other buttonhole. And then you're done. All right. All right, so this is me just showing you the view that I did, which was view B. Okay, so me stepping back so you can see the full view. The pattern, the fabric is a little busy, so you can't really see all the details, but it's still a nice silky type pattern. I think the fit is very good, what I was going after. Okay, so coming in closer so you can see the gathered V-neck with the drawstring, and that is the puff sleeve with the gathered at the hem. Now keep in mind I haven't hemmed anything yet. So this is the waistband casing that I did. I scrunched it up as much as I would want it to be scrunched, and then obviously you can make it more loose to make it you know, almost more like the picture itself. This is just me showing you the range of motion. All right, so good range of motion. Obviously, the shirt is going to come up when I go up and down, but you know, nothing's popping or anything like that, so that's good. If you made this pattern or intend to, or if you're going to follow along with me, please let me know in the comments. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of content. Thanks again for watching, and happy sewing.